Here with us today, so Sherwin, why don't you come on up and give us some words.
Wow, good afternoon. What a day. We coordinated a rally in Victoria this morning, had some problems with flights coming back out, but here we are. I got a funny story. Funny, not so funny. It kind of plays into exactly why we're here today. When I got to Victoria International Airport to grab a flight to come in, there was a airport employee outside vaping. And I looked at him, I said, "Hi, how are you? My name's Sherwin." And I reached into my bag, because I have some of the tubes, and I offered him a tube. And he goes, "Wow, that's cool." I said, "Yeah, I'm just trying to make it to a rally in Vancouver, because, your rights to access and proposed regulatory framework might take that 10 mil tank away from you. Might take those flavors away from you. Might only make flavor or products available in 10 mil bottles." He looked at me, he went, "What?" He said, "I did not even know this was happening." That's why we're here today. The end consumer. Now, part of my presentation doesn't apply anymore because I was supposed to open, introduce, and close. So I'm going to wing it a little bit. Wing it, not so much wing it. I'm sure there was a presentation, or I like to hope there's a presentation done on who is Rights for Vapers, why is Rights for Vapers. I'll just give you a quick one. Rights for Vapers is a loose collection of advocates and volunteers dedicated to the advancement of evidence-based discussions on vaping. I'm going to skip a lot of the other stuff, and I'm going to go straight to the punch. We've been hearing so much in the news these days about the so-called dangers of vaping. There has been a mass diffusion of misleading and confusing headlines in the name of public health. In reality, they're doing more harm than good, and the whole truth is not being told. I have an important question. Has the general public, in your opinion, been properly informed about the potential benefits of vaping? Regrettably and shamefully not. The misinformation needs to stop now. We already know that tobacco-related illnesses contributes to the deaths of approximately 43,000 Canadian citizens a year in our country. That equates to roughly 122 citizens per day. 6 Canadians every single hour of every day, 1 every 10 minutes. That is what public health should be concerned about. The general public deserves and has the right to hear the truth. They have a right to both sides of the story. One of which is how renowned public health authorities, such as the Royal College of Physicians UK, states that vaping is at least, take note of that, 95% less harmful than smoking. Which, in turn, has been backed up by a peer-reviewed study done right here in British Columbia at the University of Victoria. The majority of the public has not been given this information thoroughly and or transparently. There's another very important component to this conversation that's being left out. The consumer. What about the stories of the thousands of Canadian citizens who have quit their dangerous smoking habit using nicotine vaping products? What about the voices of the estimated 1 million Canadian consumers? Yes, you heard me right. 1 million Canadian citizens have transitioned away from combustible tobacco use via the availability of vaping products and a variety of nicotine levels and flavor profiles. You might want to ask yourself, how did those 1 million consumers in Canada achieve combustible tobacco cessation? It's actually a pretty simple answer. It's not that complicated. And I lost track of my notes. Well, it's not that complicated. It's the ability to have access to flavor profiles. It's the ability, the right, and the ability to have the power to choose what flavors work for them or not. Do they want flavors or not? I'm an adult too. You're an adult too. We are all adults. We have the right to choose, and we like flavors. Let's take a look at nicotine levels. Nicotine levels are extremely important. Nicotine levels empower the vapor and the person going through the transition from combustion to vaping to control their nicotine consumption. And therefore it gives them the power and control to wean themselves off according to their own particular lifestyle set or needs. These are empowering elements. I don't like to be told what to do. Well, some people here know that. I like to have the opportunity to choose. We as adults like to have the opportunity to choose. And we have a right to choose. On December 16, 2019, the provincial government in BC released a new 10-point set of proposed regulations for vaping that could, in essence, shut down this product category while at the same time create a scenario where court cases and constitutional challenges would be likely to follow. Proposals like flavor bans, nicotine caps, and restrictions at retail outlets that infringe on adult smokers' rights under the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. There was a new report issued this week, Wednesday, February the 13th, by the Canadian Constitutional Foundation that outlines possible avenues for constitutional challenges to present to present and future vaping regulations. Dr. Leonid Sirota, a leading constitutional scholar, states that vaping regulations such as nicotine ceilings or flavor restrictions have the potential to make these products less attractive or effective as quit aids. And this is considered from the standpoint of potential interference with the right not to be deprived of life, liberty, and the security of the person protected by Section 4 of the Charter. The right to life is arguably engaged when vaping legislation makes it more difficult for smokers to take measures that will make it less likely that they will die as a consequence of their habit. Security of the person is engaged insofar as the legislation makes it more difficult for smokers to avoid future illness and suffering. A more obvious issue is the way in which vaping is regulated in Canada and the prevalence of limitations on the freedom of expression protected by Section 2B of the Charter. These extreme restrictions put life-saving alternatives out of immediate reach and, perhaps worse, make them unappealing to adult smokers. We should not, absolutely not, need to go down the legal pathway of court challenges in order for the Canadian Constitution and Charter of Rights to be respected. Legislators should be responsible and do the right thing without needing to be told they are failing to respect individual freedoms and the Canadian Charter of Rights as it is written. I'm going to wrap this up and go into a little bit of what I call ad lib. I'm going to tell you a little bit about why I'm here, and how this day evolved. A little bit about my history. Some of you know me, some of you don't. I've been very adamant in standing up for Vapers' rights, fighting. I've been what you would term an activist. Prior to Bill S5, when Bill S5 was going through the House of Commons in Ottawa, I was very active. I reached out. We had over 10,000 signatures on the petition, which was presented to the House of Commons, regrettably only to be ignored. That's the pathway. We're told you have a pathway to bring your voice to us, the legislators, the regulators, your members of Parliament. And it's an extremely difficult pathway. And you do it. And I'm going to talk in the third person, and you sit in the gallery when they read the petition in the House of Commons. They read it, they fold it up, they put it on the bench, and that's the end of it. No phone call, no conversation, no discussion. Shame. Over and above that, I was asked to go and testify before the Health Committee on Bill S5. And I brought forward facts, I brought forward science, I brought forward a solid case. Guess what? The deck is stacked. I left that meeting that day, and I went home, and I felt defeated, completely defeated. And I looked at my son, who's 9. Oh, he was 7 at the time. And in my mind, I looked at him, I said, I fear for your future. Democracy as I knew it growing up is no longer what we're dealing with today. And I looked at him and, you know, after chewing on it and digesting everything, I said, no, we cannot stand for this. This is not acceptable. So I decided to try and do something from the inside out. And that's why I'm standing before you today. We should not ever give up on our democratic rights to life, to liberty, to freedom of speech, to freedom of expression. Your elected members of Parliament were elected by you. They are supposed to be listening to you. Get on the phone, call them. Let them know what you think. Nobody's going to do it for you. Rights for Vapers is your platform. This is not about me. This is about you. This is about we. This is about all of us. And this is about the 5 million people who are still smoking. And the access to these revolutionary products might no longer be available. I say enough is enough. Thank you guys for coming out. Thank you guys for hanging in there. I'm really happy to at least have been able to come in and close and give my presentation. It comes from here and here. We all need to have that same passion for our fellow man, our fellow vapor. Stand up and fight for your fucking rights. Thank you, Sadiq, for stepping in. Thank you, Jesse Tucker, very instrumental in making this happen, putting it all together. Halifax today, hey guys, you got a great win there, a great win. CTV was there, they covered the story, they were listening. It's by events like this, about getting out. We need to change the face of the vapor in the eyes of the general public, because they've been selling a false narrative. This is the face of vaping. It's not a 14-year-old sucking on jewels out of a Tim Hortons cup. This is the face of vaping. Adults, and we have rights. Thank you.
So to close it all off, just want to say thank you to everyone that came. Thank you to all the organizers. And just to take away, just remember, this what we're fighting for is our rights. We're not asking for anything crazy. We're asking for fairness. We're asking to be heard. We're asking for them to look at the facts before creating regulations that can potentially ruin this life-saving device. We have the potential to save millions of lives over the next few years, and these next coming years are instrumental and monumental in what it's going to look like and how we can get smoke-free over the next decade. So thank you, everyone.